Hello there, everyone. This is King Von Jr. This is the Victorious Ones podcast, a place where gaming meets comics, meets sports, meets movies, as well as inspiration. Of course, I'm your host, King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media on Twitter at 301 King Von Jr., on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. I'm also a social media producer for the Up and Out Reviews wrestling show Perfect Plex Talk Radio, of course, on Mondays at 6 p.m. And so, of course, this is quite a quite a week when it comes to wrestling and everything else in between. Of course, we're going to go over the week of wrestling when it comes to SmackDown, Raw, NXT, as well as my predictions. Excuse me, as well as my predictions for the upcoming Money in the Bank, as well as as well as NXT's Heatwave, along with the most recent the most recent WrestleMania documentary, WrestleMania 40, behind the curtain. Matter of fact, I just got finished watching it. I'm gonna give some of my thoughts on it, give my take on it, if you will. And so, and of course, if you're on YouTube, like I said, please go to youtube.com/@WrestleMania. Like I said, please make sure to like and subscribe for more, to be kept up to date with more content. And so, so of course, I'm gonna dive into, of course, as always, like to do, start off with Friday Night SmackDown. And I will say, that this solidifies a whole new regime for the Bloodline. You know what I mean? It shows that this is a completely different turn, a completely different direction. And I must say that when you talk about cinema, the Bloodline storyline has produced some of the absolute best cinema from, dating back to its original inception when it came to Roman, Jay, Paul Heyman, eventually with Jimmy as well. And that whole run, that whole Tribal Chief run, just another absolute cinema from beginning to the end, all the way up to WrestleMania 40, including Cody. And the thing is, even though, the parts kind of like move around and change, it's still cinematic, And so of course, this past Friday was when the Bloodline officially welcomed, the newest acquisition. If anything, someone who's been the most anticipated, arrival for this latest era of Bloodline, and that is none other than the Samoan Werewolf himself, Mr. Jacob Fatu. And Jacob came in epic fashion. You know what I mean? And especially to this long, especially like last week, when Solo had revealed him, I was like, man, this dude came in like a hurricane, straight up. And so of course, like I said, the Bloodline to welcome Jacob Fatu. We also saw a triple threat match with Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton versus Candice LeRae. Excuse me. And that was a women's Money in the Bank qualifying match. And then for the men, we have Logan Paul versus Santos Escobar versus LA Knight. Earlier this for another Money in the Bank men's qualifying match. And then we also have another triple threat qualifier, Naomi versus Blair Davenport versus Indy Hartwell. And so, and of course, this, like I said, this, is definitely, like I said, cinema-wise, SmackDown never fails to disappoint. Let's say SmackDown, SmackDown never disappoints. And so, of course, we're going to go into the particulars. Like I said, of course, we see Tama Tonga and Solo all arriving at Madison Square Garden. Of course, SmackDown took place on Friday at Madison Square Garden. And of course, I want to give a shout out to those who were there. So a shout out to those wrestling girls, Krista B and Queen PR, as well as PR sister Letty, as well as of course, the honorary wrestling girl herself, Ciandol, friend of the program as well. like I said, as always. You know, of course, they definitely represent it. And speaking of SmackDown, by the way, next month SmackDown is going to be in DC, and yours truly is going to be there. And I cannot wait. I'm very excited. So anyway, you know, of course, without further ado, like I said, the show opened up with shots of superstars arriving at MSG. Of course, a video recapping Jacob Fatu's you know, debut of Terror last week. And so of course, we saw the new Bloodline arrive backstage. You know, I've seen along with Jacob Fatu. And Solo didn't answer when Paul him asked, you know, where he was as he walked right to the ring. And so of course, we see Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton attack them before anything can happen. So of course, after the break was over, we saw them still in the ring, and ended up taking out security as Nick Aldis is obviously furious, and of course he would later return later with cops to escort them all the way. And so of course the crowd was, you know, like I said, you know, like I said, they're definitely not, you know, the crowd was definitely on fire for this, and it was a great way to, you know, great way to start off SmackDown. And of course, obviously, the Bloodline, even though they were escorted initially, they eventually returned. And so on. So of course, it's clear that the Orton, Cody, and KO would not, you know, wouldn't be that far away. Then we have, like I said, you know, another you know, triple threat qualifier for the Queen of the Ring, with Jade Cargill, Candice LeRae, and Tiffany Stratton. And so of course, they all looked at the briefcase, you know, before they started the match, as anybody would, you know, because they know what's on the line. So before the show ended up cutting to a break, Nia Jax and Bianca Belair show up at ringside, but didn't interfere, didn't, you know, get in anybody's way yet. And so of course this is a, you know, pretty strong performance from all three of them. And Candice LeRae is obviously the veteran in this situation, but you know, of course, Jade and Tiffany carried their own weight in the match, and so, you know, of course, we definitely see a heated exchange between Bianca and Nia. And Bianca, you know, of course, Bianca, of course, Bella prevented Jax from attacking Cargill, from attacking Jade, but Indy Hartwell shoved her into the ring post while Bianca was talking to the ref. So you know, so of course, even though Bianca prevented Nia from attacking Jade, Indy Hartwell ended up shoving Jade into the ring post while Bianca was talking to the referee. So ended up leading Tiffany Stratton in the trademark moonsault when Indy Hartwell for the win. So at least, even though Jade had lost, at least Tiffany was not the one that pinned her, you know, for obvious reasons previously, you know, as we all know. You know, it's just wouldn't have been a great look to see Tiffany Stratton get the pin on Jade Cargill. You know, but of course, Tiffany Stratton, you know, goes on to advance, you know, with this, you know, for the Queen of the Ring. I mean, for the women's Money in the Bank, you know, qualifying match. I mean, for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So, you know, so of course, you know, so of course, one of the highlights of this was that, you know, of course, like in terms of in between the beginning segment as well as this previous match, was that Kevin Owens took a huge bump through the table after he was taken, you know, to take out Tama Tonga. And so of course, as Tiffany Stratton also had great moments when she was going, you know, when she was just having her momentum kind of on in rage mode pretty much. And so, you know, she's definitely a great athlete in her own right. So of course, another, like I said, we see Santos Escobar versus Logan Paul versus LA Knight. In the winner of this match, LA Knight. You know, of course, he goes on to advance for the men's Money in the Bank. You know, Logan Paul already has a championship anyway. And of course, we also saw a special interference by New York Knicks star Jalen Brunson, and you know, of course, it was enough to give LA Knight momentum to pick up the win by reversing the Logan from Logan Paul, and you know, and of course, Logan Paul looked like he was, you know, going for some type of even Knievel look with his gear, and so of course, like I said, the match itself, like it's very well put, it's very much put together, very well put together. Excuse me. You know, and of course, for Logan Paul to reverse powerbomb to drive Santos Escobar on top of LA Knight was definitely a nice spot in the match. So they definitely pulled out, you know, great, best of the best. And of course, I like the tribute to Sika, rest in peace, Sika, one half of the legendary Wild Samoans. And which was great. Like I said, it was a great memorial video for Sika. For his very well deserved. So of course, he's one of the innovators, pioneers when it comes to the Onawani family, when it comes to the Samoan dynasty. So of course, after High Chief Peter Mabia, then that's when we see the Wild Samoans. And so, like I said, uh, Peter Mabia was the original building block, and so the Wild Samoans just added on to that. And on Friday I did wear my Wild Samoans WWE Slam shirt from Homage. Shout out to them. And it looks like an NBA Jam shirt. Like it was great. I was like, you know what? As soon as I saw that, I gotta have that in the collection. Then we have Blair Davenport versus Indy Hartwell versus Naomi. Of course, two NXT alumni, along with the former TNA Knockouts Women's Champion. So of course, the winner of this match, none other than the Glow herself, Naomi. And out of the three women in Team Renaissance, Naomi is the only one that's advancing. Like I said, in that, very, very interesting, if you will. And so yeah, and then of course, last but not least, we have the Bloodline Acknowledgement Ceremony, and this is where they wanted to officially make Paul Heyman the wise man for Solo Sikoa, like he was with Roman Reigns. So the new Congo Tribal Chief wanted to promise Heyman that Jacob Fatu was not there. Took his advice about him being too violent for the group. Okay, whatever. As soon as they got to the ring, Sikoa welcomed him to the ring, revealing to Heyman that he was lying. Very, very ironic, right? Like lying to someone who's been an habitual liar, for the longest time. Let's be honest. So of course, Heyman stared right. Like I said, of course, stared right at a shocked Paul Heyman as Jacob Fatu came to the ring. And so, as Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa all acknowledged Solo Sikoa as the Tribal Chief, Paul Heyman hesitated. And so, this is where things really hit the fan. And this was the highlight of that ceremony, the highlight of that segment. Because as I've said before, the Bloodline produces great cinema. Paul Heyman is a mastermind of that. You know what I mean? And so, of course, this is, like I said, this is the crescendo. This is like the apex of the segment, where, of course, even though Heyman said that he was like, even though he said he loved Solo, but with the utmost authority, he said, I would not. He said, I will not acknowledge you as my tribal chief. I said, well, that is undying loyalty to Roman Reigns. I was like, man, Heyman stuck to his guns when it came to that. He said, I will not acknowledge you as my tribal chief. And so that spelled disaster for him. It all went down from there after that. So Solo attacks him with a small spike and orders Fatu to him with a flying headbutt. So then this is where they take Cripple Page out of the Shield's book as a triple power bomb Heyman through the announce table, much like the Shield group that of course the legendary group that Roman came from. And of course the show ended with the new Bloodline stand tall as the crowd just chanted something that WWE obviously had to censor out. And it was great way to kick off the next chapter. We're going to the Bloodline Wolfpack. So now it's time for Heyman to press the panic button. Much like how Nick Fury tried to page Captain Marvel at the end of Infinity War when everybody was getting dusted, including him. Where everybody was getting blipped, including him, if you will. Now the alarm has got to go off for Roman. And when he returns, people are saying it's going to be generational. I even saw something where Mark Henry said that when Roman returns, it's going to be as big of a baby face as Shawn Michaels was. You know, um, very much like '96 Shawn Michaels, and that's a pretty huge compliment. That's like see that I think I'm looking to see how that turns out. But but I know that it's going to be something that it's definitely going to be monumental. If you will, let me just put it that way. So now it is time for Monday Night Raw. It's already as far as the rundown. I've already finished. I said finished SmackDown. Talking about SmackDown. Now it's time to go. Now it's time to go to Monday Night Raw. As the first Monday of July, I might add, and the Revenge Tour continues to, continues to move into high gear. So the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour continued Monday Night Raw as Women's World Champion defending against Zelina Vega. Or as she continued to intensify her, all while she was continuing to intensify her advances towards Dominic and just lure him into a trap more and more. So of course Mysterio found himself pulling double duty as well, as he had to fight off the reigning champion. As he fend off the reigning women's world champion and Balor's dad, Rey Mysterio, in a rematch of WrestleMania 39. So meanwhile, found two combatants and opponents in Saturday's Money in the Bank ladder matches were determined in two high-stake triple threat contests. So of course on the Go Home episode of Raw, on the road to this weekend's Money in the Bank, you can find out who cash your tickets into the high stakes ladder match. So of course see which superstars have momentum on the side, and of course what went down in the latest drama between Liv Morgan and as she likes to call him Daddy Don. As I can recap his first Monday Night Raw in July. So as far as like the match on the card, we see the Women's World Championship, obviously with Zelina Vega versus Liv Morgan. Of course, we have a triple threat men's qualifying match for Money in the Bank with Sheamus versus Ilya Dragunov versus Drew McIntyre. Then we have the women's Money in the Bank qualifying match with Zoe Stark versus Dakota Kai versus Ivy Nile. And then, of course, last but not least, we also have Mysterio versus his son Dominic in the WrestleMania 39 rematch, as I said before. So, of course, we see Jey Uso kicking off the night with Chad Gable interrupting him. Of course, that's when the YS6, YS6 just on it this segment. And so of course, Chad Gable was somebody like, everybody called him Match Gable, whatever. But yeah, and by the way, Raw took place at the TD Waterhouse Garden. That is in Boston. But yeah, like I said, Jey Uso kicked off Monday's show is at the TD Waterhouse. Yes, TD Garden. That's in Boston with the Celtics play. As they won a championship, like last month, unfortunately. But yeah, anyway, like I said, of course, the audience adored Jey Uso, and of course, everybody immediately discussed the Saturday's Money in the Bank match. And when Jay immediately discussed it, and he discussed the match, and he said he vowed to leave Toronto with the briefcase, which ended up which of course caused Chad Gable to come out. Of course, they exchanged words. And of course, the Olympian Gable looking to shift the attention of the YS6 from himself to Jey Uso. Obviously, that backfired. So, of course, after a brief exchange, which Jay got the best of Chad, from Alpha Academy leader found himself having to dodge the YS6. Well, I did like the way the fight broke out. Because Jay, because Jay, like I'm gonna call Chad Gable it seemed like it was called manipulative and and just like toxic basically and stuff like that. And so obviously that didn't sit right with Chad. Like I said, I like the exchange, but of course Jey Uso got the best of him, and so of course Chad Gable was just freaked out, by the Y6 once again. Um, so of course you eventually escaped out through the crowd, only to see shadows of him, and then of course we went through the stands, and so of course there's a sister Abigail who's apparently supposed to be Nikki Cross, presented by Cole with another box. Apparently it's another videotape. The fact that videotapes are still even around is astonishing to me at this point in 2024. But yeah, so of course it was a great segment to kick off Monday Night Raw. As the main focus was the ladder match itself, because that's the main primary point of business, and of course, and also planting seeds for potential rivalry between Jey Uso and Chad Gable, and of course to give us the latest of the YS6. So of course, so if anything, it checked off all the boxes they needed to check off. And the highlights were that Chad Gable reminded everybody that Jey Uso took the Fireflies and abandoned his family, two things that should have made him the target of riots. And and of course, James Sad told him they got have Fireflies. I'll take the mosquitoes, the cockroaches. I'm not trying to end up like you. And of course, Jey Uso remains super popular with fans. Just I mean, you can just tell by the way that they reacted to his match. Next up, we have Xavier Woods versus Karrion Kross. So, after weeks of trying to get Xavier Woods away from the New Day from Kofi Kingston, Karrion Kross, faced him in the opening match of the night. And so of course, Karrion Kross, of course, utilized his strength advantage to dominate most of the match, and of course, caught Woods mid-flight with the forearm. Like, if anything, I give him credit for that. That's a pretty nice forearm that he had. And of course, eventually Xavier recovered and caught Karrion Kross off guard with a roll up for the win. Then afterwards, Kross in the Final Testament beat down Xavier and Kofi, and of course left him lying there to close out the segment. Along with Karrion putting Kofi in an arm lock and arm bar. I was like, man, I almost say he's going to just snap his arm. And so, if anything, I would say the post match, and I would say that the attack after the match, was actually executed a little bit better than the match itself. But at the same time, it's just like the program isn't really hitting the way that it should. Isn't really moving the needle the way that it should. Even though I say the primary focus or purpose of this program is to elevate Karrion Kross and the Final Testament, at the expense of established stars, tag team legends like the New Day. And so the thing about it is that the group is very much still, for the most part, very much undefined. Nobody really knows what they're about, who they are, and things like that. And so I think that's a big reason why they're not connecting the way that they should with the WWE audience or WWE universe, if you will. And so eventually, I think as things go on, those concerns need to be addressed, sooner rather than later. So yes, so of course, sorry about that. Like I said, of course, the thing about it, especially with Xavier's credentials being questioned as a single star, and saying that he was only successful as a tag team competitor, and it doesn't say mention much of anything about him. When the King of the Ring tournament, yes, and the thing about it is that it's not really, like I said, not really that acknowledged or mentioned like that, especially after Roman took the crown. I'm like, man, he pretty much took the wind out of his sails after that moment. If anything, I would say Xavier probably really wasn't hadn't really been been viewed the same way ever since. And there's no fault of his own. Next up, we have the Women's World Championship match with Liv Morgan, aka Britney Spears from Upside Down Again, versus Zelina Vega. And so Liv barely escaped the match with Zelina with the Women's World Championship intact, thanks to interference from Dominic Mysterio. But I'm sorry about that. Of course, what the thing about it is that later in the match, Dominic found himself shoved to the floor by his dad Ray, and then of course Liv goes on to defend her Dirty Dom as she took out Dom's legendary dad Ray with a baseball slide. Of course, after that, Zelina capitalized on that distraction and delivered 619 29 DDT for a near fall. So it was great nod to Ray himself with that 619, and so of course of course Liv refused to use the steel chair and introduced. Like I said, or rather Zelina refused to use the steel chair that was brought in by Dominic, but was Liv Morgan to take advantage of that and deliver the Oblivion for the pinfall victory and successful women's world title defense. And and of course I like how this played on Liv's championship match with Becky Lynch. How of course how she greatly benefited from steel chair mishap courtesy of Dominic. And this is what further triggered this whole this whole angle where Liv is luring I believe Dominic on and luring him in and things like that, and also once again showed Zelina as a legitimate contender for a championship. Even though she had had a title match last year against Rhea Ripley, but I think she was able to display more in this match, really shine even more compared to someone like Rhea, who's by far a bigger star than Liv Morgan. And this match also put more heat on Ray versus Dom later on in the night. So yes, so of course, obviously, as I said before, of course, the main this is the main event of the night is a rematch for last year's WrestleMania in LA. Then we have, of course, Judgment Day issues. The Judgment Day interrupts Seth Rollins, and so of course Seth Rollins made his way to the ring. But anyway, like I said, you have Seth Rollins. Once again, like I said, Seth Rollins made his way to the ring to discuss Saturday's World Heavyweight Championship match with Damian Priest, which lost as a result in him being unable to challenge for the title ever again. So really everything's on the line for Rollins. It's like now or never, do or die. Before he could even lay out what it could mean from, including look aside of the man that he is. This one, Finn Balor interrupted. Damian Priest followed, and chaos just broke out. So of course, Judgment Day laid out Seth, and despite clear dissension within the ranks, they made their way to the back to finish up the segment. So it's clear to show that there is some type of dissension going on, but when it comes to Seth, they make sure to stand on one accord. So there's definitely a power struggle, between Priest and Balor, especially with Rhea being out. So Rhea was truly the foundation, like the one. She was the most constant, most stable one to keep everybody together. So now that she's gone, you start seeing those cracks come through now. So of course, this power struggle is one that could end with and with Finn, like I said, Finn to train Damien and his former tag team partner to train him, his fellow Judgment Day member and former, co-tag team champion. This could lead to a new incarnation of Judgment Day, just like a new incarnation of the Bloodline. So it's pretty difficult to really see Damien leave right now. At the same time, it's hard to see Seth not challenge for the world title again. So the outcome is very much up in the air. So it's going to be very interesting. Now also, if you look carefully at the women's title match, Liv Morgan stole one of Rhea's moves. There's a move called the Prison Block. As a name, she is taking everything away from Rhea while Rhea is gone. Man. Yeah, so, wow. And of course, Corey Graves, if anybody call it Corey's little Easter egg or deep cut, we said that Dom is less Eddie Guerrero these days and more like the American level machine Art Bar. Art Bar was, was Eddie Guerrero's tag team partner in Mexico. And so I think Art Bar was the one who originally came with Frog Splash. But yeah, you know what I mean? I was like I said, I definitely, like I said, the matter there was a tag team called Los Gringos Locos. So that was where Eddie Guerrero first made his mark, if you will. And so I definitely like to hear that homage. And like I said, that's definitely what you call a deep cut. So, man, because there are a lot of people who don't know who Art Bar was, and so I was like, yeah, like I said, I definitely like to hear that. But yeah, like I said, that was just just a little just something to point out, like to point out from previously. But yeah, the main thing, like I said, Finn Balor, is starting to stand up more, be more vocal, and just have a mind of his own. And it's just like and just also to look at how many times he's been linked to Liv Morgan at this point. So could this be a coup within the group? You never know, And so I was like, it's very fascinating, very interesting, And so of course, Damian Priest was online Finn. The world title match with Seth Rollins is his business, and no one's going to interfere with it. So of course, we're going to look to see if that's going to play a significant role. Play a significant role in the outcome of their match at Money in the Bank. Then we have the Money in the Bank qualifying match. So we start with Dakota Kai versus Nile. And so the winner of this match is Zoe Stark, as she advances for the women's Money in the Bank qualifying match. Then, of course, we see the YS6 once again. Latest videotape featuring Uncle Howdy and Bo Dallas. Of course, the fans who treated to the reveal that that Bo Dallas was talking to himself the entire time. Wow. Says, of course, in the video says we're the ones everyone wants to forget about when made the notices. Dallas said when asked if he thinks he's special, to which he responded that to believe he is special to suggest there are those who deserve to be forgotten. And of course, Uncle Howdy says in response, "There you are." It was like realizing he exposed the real Bo Dallas to the entire world. So then the video becomes grainy and just warped and twisted at times. It's revealed that Dallas and Howdy are one of the same. I mean, I've been in that. Ever since Bray was still alive, anytime I saw Uncle Howdy or or whatever, I was like, it's gotta be Bo Dallas in disguise. And sure enough, they make it clear, make it obvious that they're the same guy. So mystery solved, in that aspect. So of course, finally, last but not least, we have Rey Mysterio versus Son Dominic. And it's definitely the best family rivalry in the business. as the Righteous Layers chapter on Monday when Bray got the best of his son Dominic thanks to constant interference from Liv Morgan and Zelina Vega. And the match, much like Morgan's match early on, nothing had a number spot between the champ and Dom. This was Saw Mysterio land on top of Morgan, and she had him a few weeks back. So, so if anything, Liv almost got this dude counted out, and so I was like, man, she's definitely his hindrance, sort of like his ball in the chain, tied to his leg. You know what I mean? So that's who Liv Morgan is for him right now. And so of course, after that, so Zelina take the fight to Liv. And meanwhile, back inside the match, Ray delivered the West Coast Pop for the win. Even though we did see Dominic deliver 619 to his dad, of course, like I said, Ray was like the West Coast Pop, which is which is what you do after 619, pick up the win. And so of course I left Morgan to want Dominic not to be mad. And so of course that's when she said that she's gonna make it better. So of course it kind of felt like a mixed tag match from when it goes though. Mixed tag match would not be out of the equation. And it feels like that's a perfect route to go for at this moment. And then we have Braun Breaker interrupted Sami Zayn's promo. And, of course, Braun Breaker is the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship of Money in the Bank. And this is something I called, something that I've been wanting to see for Braun Breaker since he arrived. Since he arrived to the main roster. And I've said before, I feel as though if there's anybody I can see breaking Gunther's record, it would have to be Braun Breaker. I mean, why not? Of course, something like that. So, but of course, before he faces the toughest challenge of his reign so far, the underdog from the underground himself, Sami Zayn, found himself face to face with the most unstoppable force that we have in WWE today, and that is Braun Breaker. And so after he suggested that Breaker had done his homework, if he doesn't know Sami Zayn and what he's accomplished, and of course, even with that, trying to brag on his resume, Sami Zayn found himself on the receiving end of a vicious spear, and so of course, as Braun Breaker sprinting around the ring for another spear attempt, Sami Zayn uses wisdom and instincts, and just use his brain really just to leapfrog himself over Braun Breaker as this Braun crashes his steel steps. And so of course, that wasn't enough to keep him down as he rebounded and Sami's neck the second spear, before he closed out the segment. And of course, really last but not least, actually, the qualifying match was Sheamus versus Ilya Dragunov versus Drew McIntyre, and your winner to qualify is Drew McIntyre. So of course he's going to be the final entry for the men when it comes to the Money in the Bank. So the things that stood out to me the most, what that was, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was from my fault. Apologies for that. For that in the background. But yeah, if anything, the things that stood out the most for me on this episode, once again, cinema, the YS6. That in and of itself. Also, the continuing saga with Ray and Dominic, and the continuing saga with Liv and Dominic, especially. This revenge tour going on or whatever. I mean, and of course, the rise of Braun Breaker as he stood tall over Sami Zayn. And I'm looking, like I said, now in terms of Bank match card. Let's see what it is. Now it is time for predictions. So here we are. We have the Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. Then we have Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. We have Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. Then for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, we have Jey Uso versus Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade versus Chad Gable versus LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre. Then finally for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, we have Chelsea Green versus Io Sky versus Laura Valkyria versus Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton versus Zoe Stark. And so for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, my prediction is going to be Drew McIntyre. However, the wild card in that is going to be CM Punk. If CM Punk flies out to Toronto, this could be a red flag for Drew. This could be trouble for Drew. Because we've already seen what Punk did in Scotland when Drew was involved in a title match. So is history going to repeat itself? If so, Jey Uso would be the lock, to win the briefcase. But in this case, if I had to pick one, I'm going with Drew McIntyre. Just as long as we can get Drew versus Punk. Because it's bound to happen. Especially with the title involved. But even if Punk does interfere, at least we can still pencil in Punk versus McIntyre at SummerSlam, because this is all what is ultimately going to lead to. When it comes to the women's Money in the Bank, there's a part of me that wants to say Tiffany Stratton. If there's anybody, I'm just kind of out of all the women in this match, just because Bianca and Jade are not there. If anything, two of the strongest locks, have been eliminated from contention. So if anything, I might have to say Tiffany on this one. Now this World Heavyweight Championship match, this is tough one because of the stipulations involved. And so Damian Priest obviously cashed in and became the World Heavyweight Champion. And I'm pretty sure that there are those, especially Seth, who believe that Priest is just keeping the belt warm until Rollins is ready to get it back up, ready to reclaim it. So with that being said, and also the ultimatum that if Damian loses, he's going to have to leave. It'll be time for him to breaking the Judgment Day. So with that being said, I'm going with Seth freaking Rollins to reclaim the World Heavyweight Championship. Of course, we have Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. I'm going with Braun Breaker. Because how much a monumental breakout star that he is right now. And we definitely will keep that momentum going, and would make a way for him to make a statement and to win the Intercontinental Championship. Especially if we're in this. Sorry about that. Especially 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 if we are in this phase of, of establishing new talent, building new stars. What better way to build a new star like Braun than for him to be a champion? It's not like Sammy's going on a transcendent record-breaking run or anything. It's not like he is repeating uh, Gunther's. It's not like he's going after Gunther's record or anything. If anything, that was just to get the belt off of Gunther so that he could focus on, um, you know, focus on being in the main event. So that being said, because of Philizzo, Sammy's just keeping the belt warm, for the next world beating monster. Why not have him drop it to Braun Breaker? So I have Braun Breaker um, becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. So that's my prediction right there. Then we have Bloodline versus Cody versus Randall, and of course, and KO. So what happens on SmackDown's going to give the go home show's going to give a better indication. But I see the Bloodline winning to establish Solo as the new leader, at least until Roman, Roman eventually makes his return. So I think at least it's going to establish Solo for someone to at least keep the seat warm until Roman's ready. I wouldn't quite call out Rock and Roman just yet, just because they want to establish this group first. Adding new members to this new regime post WrestleMania is great, but they need a big enough win to prove they're legit. And so I would say this is the biggest win they could get as as a faction. So especially after what they did with Heyman, it's just like you have to close out the deal and win. So so maybe those are my predictions when it comes to like I said when it comes to Money in the Bank. So the women's Money in the Bank winner, actually, you know what? Not to be shot. Yes, actually, I might go with Naomi on that one. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna go with Naomi. I definitely want to see something like that. But Tiffany's my wild card. And then for the men's Money in the Bank, I have Drew for the Intercontinental Championship. Once again, as I said before, Braun Breaker. The World Heavyweight Championship, I'm going with Seth Rollins, and for the Bloodline versus Orton, KO, and Cody, I'm going with the Bloodline. Now moving on to NXT. Let's keep going again. So I'm going to go over things that are going in NXT, and especially since we're getting closer to Heatwave, which is going to take place. Which is going to take place on Sunday, whereas Money in the Bank is going to be on Saturday. I say things got explosive before Heatwave, they got explosive. Let's get into it. The best thing to watch on Tuesdays is NXT. NXT kicked off with a bang, street fight between Michin and Jada Parker. And this was an epic match. This was a great street fight. And, if anything, it elevates Jada Parker even more. I was like, man, if anything, I was actually pulling for Jada. And of course, I still remember when she was telling Michin that that Mia Yim that she talks things about that even though she's still stuck in NXT Black and Gold, but like Jada was like turning black and blue. And I was like, man, at first It looked like things may have been down for Jada, but it was just like cream rises to the top. He couldn't keep it down. And so of course, the winner of this match, Jada Parker, just established more of her own sort of toughness. And and the thing about it is that the thing about it is that Jada was doing that bump. He's obviously more than once, at least twice or three times, and so of course when she finally got the last time, that was that led to pinfall. So man, of course we have New Catch Republic versus Hank and Tank, and the winners New Catch Republic by pinfall. Then we have Izzy Dame versus Brendan Reese. The winner of this match by pinfall of Izzy Dame. Then we have Lola Vice telling her story, pouring out her heart, and just getting emotional before Heatwave. Just sharing her story about her mom and how she grew up and things like that. And didn't really hit the needle the way it was supposed to. And we have Aura Mensa with Metaphor defeating Miles Bourne. Anyway. And then we have Wendy Chu versus Carly Bright. Winner of this match by pinfall, Wendy Chu. Remember zombie Wendy Chu, if you will. if ain't that's what it seemed like. And so, of course, we have Carmen Petrovic versus Jasmine Nix with JC Jane in the corner. And the winner of this match, Jasmine Nix via pinfall. Then we also have, of course, we also have the contract signing, which was the biggest highlight of the night. I mean, and things got heated. If anything, Sean Spears and Mr. All Ego Ethan Page really did, if anything, they really did their absolute best. Let's try to get Trick Williams and Javon Evans, pretty much divided and riled up. And so, of course, it obviously didn't turn out the way they thought it would. It's tricking the young OG Javon, some both of them to the table and ring before arguing with each other arguing with each other in the end of the night. And when I say Javon Evans was heated, he was heated. It's going to be a great showcase of talent in this fatal forward match. If anything, if there's one match I'm excited for the most, I'll have to say that fatal four way. With that, along with Wesley and Obafemi. So now I'm going to the Heatwave card for 2024. This Heatwave is going to take place Sunday, July 7th. And so here is the Heatwave match card. The pre-show match can be Carmen Petrovic, Ariana Grace versus JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix. So I'm going to go with JC Jane and Jasmine Nix for this kind of type of say. But as far as the NXT Championship Fatal 4-Way match, Trick, Javon, Sean Spears, and Ethan Page, I'm going with Trick Williams retaining the title. Then we have the NXT Tag Team Championship match. Nathan Frazier, Axiom versus Chase University. That's a tough one. I might go with Chase University on this one. NXT Women's North American Championship match, Kalani Jordan versus Sol Ruka. It's another match to add. I think I'll have to go with Kalani Jordan on this one, just for the sake of maintaining her title reign. I don't know if it's going to be Sol Ruka just yet, but if he does, then I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm still going Kalani. just so when the right shoes like a one hit wonder. The NXT North American Championship match: Obafemi versus Wes Lee. The stipulation is if Wesley loses, he will be permanently barred from challenging Femi for the title as long as he remains champion. I can see it as it could be a bad thing, but it could be a blessing in disguise. So this, if anything, if this is going to open the door for Wesley to go into the main event, then hang him on for it. So in that case, I'm going to have to go over Femi and Baku Femi. But, like I said, I wouldn't put it past for Wesley to become the champion himself. We have Roxanne Perez versus Logan Vice. I'm going to have to go with Roxanne. It's Roxanne, you're going to have to turn off. You don't have to. Of course, it's Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. Shout out to the police. That song. Yeah, so if anything, those are my predictions for Heatwave. And so last but not least, what I want to talk about is, of course, this latest WrestleMania 40 Behind the Curtain documentary. And the main thing it focused on really was, the main thing that we focused on the most, was the two-night main event involving The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, and then of course night 2, which was Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. And so it went into, like I said, when in detail, you could tell that, that the shift was something that they were not expecting. If anything, The Rock even had things laid out, planned out, and things like that in terms of just his own vision and ideas. And you could tell that they definitely caught guard with with the way things were improvised, as far as change with everything, as far as the whole Cody Rhodes, whole outlet backlash from The Rock returning, and setting up the face Roman. So the thing about it was that some of the main key points was that The Rock had this well thought out plan of a story with him and Roman. The first chapter would take place at WrestleMania 40, and so it's just like he had this elaborate vision, but it was clearly hijacked by the IWC and their complaints, and of course they showed when The Rock called the Cody fans Cody crybabies and things like that, and just just that entitlement, stuff like that. And like I said, it just really humanizing everyone that that was involved. So I definitely like that. And so also just reliving Cody's journey of finishing his story and things like that, and just reliving his underdog. Just revealing his underdog story, as far as that, along with seeing the pain that Seth Rollins had to go through. Like, this dude is legit messed up, and especially for his championship match against Drew, for the opening match of night 2. It's like, man, this guy was going through it, and so of course it was but yeah, that, but of course talks about WWE's decision to tell us about how Cody went from the Rumble to handling his main event title shot to a babyface Rock before grabbing it back from heel Rock days later. And so like so of course, like I said, this documentary tells everything about about how it's originally the Rock was Roman, and then all that stuff just got shut down, especially with like I said, with IWC's backlash to that, and so of course, like I said, just everything leading up to this, along with the WrestleMania press conference, and like I said, and just to relive that once again over. I was like, man, like I said, just see how just see the behind the scenes, um, just behind the scenes documentary, everything just well orchestrated and planned out and things like that, and even with the way they had to improvise, I commend them on that as well. And so of course, like I said, this documents, like I said, of course, Roman and Rock, beating Rhodes and Rollins in night one, route to Cody, finally finishing the story by winning the WWE title from Roman in night two, and like of course, along with Roman taking making exit for a while, um, of course, as the final boss, success showdown with the American Nightmare, all those things, and just the way that The Rock made the most out of the situation, and how he went out of his way to make Cody look much better, and made him more of a sympathetic figure, especially with the way that he took Cody's weightlifting belt and just whipped him with it over and over, and just how much just the bloodshed outside of the episode of Raw, and Rock was dropping F bombs left and right. I mean, just many, if not more, than Stone Cold. I'm like, whoa, excuse me, I know we're definitely not PG anymore at all whatsoever. Um, and just to relive that, pretty much my sort of cold weather PTSD definitely kicked in as I saw that stadium. I was like, man, because I remember like permanently where I was and everything, and just, but if anything, overall, if anything, I would say it was definitely a great, sort of trip back down, sort of never land, if you will, when it came to WrestleMania, and just the inner workings of what made, you know, that two-night event so great. So of course, WrestleMania 40 Behind the Curtain, I highly recommend it. I mean, I've given 4.5 out of 5 Roman Reigns Tribal Chief Championship belts. So, if anything, those are my thoughts about about this week of wrestling. Everything else. Thank you very much, and have a great week.